this chapter, we're going to be looking at sequences and series. In short, the difference between sequences and series is that sequences have commas separating all of the different terms, and series are sums of sequences, and terms within a series would be separated by addition signs. Now, we need to learn some notation before we get into this chapter. Each element within a sequence is going to be designated with the variable a, but the subscript, in this case a sub 1, will represent that this is the first term. Now when I say sub 1, I'm really referring to a subscript 1, but it's much easier to say a sub 1. This second term, 14, would be a sub 2, etc., going on through this pattern. And when we get out here to a term having n in it, it is called the nth term, or a sub n. The nth term, it just depends on which notation you want to use. Sometimes it is called the general term. Now, after the nth term, the term after it, whatever number would be in that position, would be a subscript n plus 1, and the number after that, a subscript n plus 2, etc. So you can tell at what position within a sequence a value is by looking at the subscript, starting with n is equal to 1, not 0. Now, they are giving us a formula here. This time we're using b instead of a for the nth term. And to find those first four terms, b sub 1, b sub 2, b sub 3, and b sub 4, we will want to substitute in values of 1, 2, 3, and 4 into this formula. So in this first case, we will have negative 1 cubed plus 5. That is negative 1 plus 5, which is 4. To generate the second term, we will have negative input of 2 cubed plus 5. That is negative 8 plus 5, which is negative 3. And so on, substituting in 3 and then substituting in 4. Now, when you substitute in 3, you get negative 27 plus 5, which is negative 22. And when you substitute in 4, cube it, you get 64. You have negative 64 plus 5, which is negative 59. If we wanted to find the 100th term, we would substitute in 100 for the value of n and evaluate. And now we have another problem in which we are asked to find the first four terms, but this time we have something a little bit interesting going on. We're still going to be substituting in values 1, 2, 3, 4 for n, but this term inside the parentheses is negative, and that's going to have our terms alternating in sign. In each of these cases, we're going to begin with the number 64 and multiply by a power of negative 1/4. In the first case, we're multiplying by negative 1/4 to the first power, and then the second power, third power, and fourth power. Now let's evaluate each of these. When we substituted in 1, we really have negative 1/4 times 64, which makes negative 16. Negative 1/4 when squared gives us 1/16, multiplied by 64 gives us positive 4. We then have 64 times negative 1/64, which is negative 1, and then 64 times 1 over 256, which is equal to 1/4. Notice that the result, each term, can be found by multiplying the previous one by negative 1/4. A little bit later we will call that the ratio within this problem. Sometimes you are asked to find a particular term. In this case, we are being asked to find the 204th term of this sequence. Basically, we will substitute in 204 each time we see n. d sub 204 is equal to 6 times 204 plus 7, which is equal to 1,224 plus 7, which is equal to, finally, 1,231.